Now in this section we are going to look at a couple of useful methods to help understand the data better. So first we'll have a look at the method head. This is used to retrieve first n rows of the data frame where n is provided in as the argument. So for example, if we are providing 10 here, that means the output will retrieve first 10 records of the data frame students. So let's run the code. So as you can see, from 0 to 9, the first 10 records have been printed. Similarly, there's another method, tail, which will give the last 10 records of the data frame. So let me uncomment and run it again. So now as you can see, the last 10 records of the data frame are printed. Second, we have a attribute shape that would give us total number of rows and columns in the data frame. So this says there are 26 rows and 10 columns in the data frame student. Next, we have method info. This will be useful to get information about the data columns. For example, name of the column, the elements which are non-null, the data type, and total of the data frame size. So let's run it to see the output. So as you can see, starting with class pandas.co.frame.dataframe, that is telling us what is the type of this student object, which is class data frame. Second, it is telling that there are 26 records from 0 to 25. Then it is giving the description of each column. So it says there is a column roll number which has 26 non-null values. That means none of the values non-null. Second column is name. Again, there are 26 non-null values. So likewise, you will see it is giving us all the 10 columns, their names, number of non-null counts. And then also it will give us the memory usage, which is in this case 2.2 plus kilobytes. And the data type will give us the data type of each particular column. So for example, age was integer, while cat score was float. So like and others are object. Okay. So this is very important. This will give you a quick glimpse of the data frame. Next, we will look into method describe. Describe is particularly useful to get the statistical summary of the numerical columns. So if there is a text column, then this particular column will not be included. The output will only be applicable to the numerical columns. The details will include statistical information like count, mean, standard deviation, minimum, maximum, quartiles. So quartiles are the um, 25th percentage quartile, which means we divide the total data points into 4 equal parts, right? So let's run it. So as you can see in our student data frame, as we can see, sorry, there were 3 numeric types: age, cat, and height, right? So as we can see here, age, cat score, and height. These 3 were numeric, right? Integer, float, and float. So for these 3 columns, we will get these details like count. So there are 26 entries, 26 elements. Then the mean, the standard deviation, minimum, 25th, 50th, 75th quartile, and the max, right? So this will be very helpful when you want to get a quick summary of your numerical columns. After this, we will cover view. So view and So to view all the unique values, we will use value counts. So this will give us unique values and counts. So for example, if there are repetitions, then it will just consider the unique values and their count. Now there are 2 ways to use it. One with flag drop NA being true and drop NA being false. So drop NA refers to whether to drop not applicable or not. So if any value is not applicable, is null, then whether to include it or not would be decided by this flag. So say in first example, we will set drop NA to false. That means if there is a NA, include it, don't drop it. Okay. So we will just comment it and then run it. So you will see Not applicables are included. There are 4 not applicables in our data. Next, we will set the drop any to true. That means don't include it. So you will see those values have been removed. So this is particularly important when you just want to view your data and want to see the unique values and their counts. So and please note, in this case we are looking at height. So for example, 153 height is 3 students have height 153, 2 students have height 160. Okay. Next we are going to look into length function. So I think we have already covered it, right? So length function returns number of items in an object. In case of data frame, it will return the number of records in that data frame. So as we already know, how many records we have in our student data frame? 26, right? So after we have covered these useful methods to help us understand the data better, next we'll go and have a look into how we can select and filter the data. That we'll see in the next section.